Hey guys, this is Miss Harlequin, and in this video we are going to be learning our new vocabulary words, which come from our next story, The Veldt by Ray Bradbury. All right, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to rate our prior knowledge of these words. So please make sure you have the vocabulary sheet in front of you. Don't look at the definitions. You're only rating how well you know the word just based on hearing the word. So remember, we're using a 4-point rating system. 1, you've never seen or heard the word before. 2, you've seen or heard the word, but you don't know what it means. 3, you know the word, you know the definition. 4, you are an expert on the word. You know the word, you use it. If there are multiple definitions for this word, if it's a multiple meaning word, you know all of the meanings. You can use it in a variety of sentences, and you maybe even already use it in your writing and in your spoken language. All right, so our first word is matted. Second, appalled. Third, bemused. Fourth, jovial. Fifth, insufferable. And the sixth, persecute. All right, so the first word is matted. Matted things are snarled into a twisted mat. So if you never brush your long hair, it will become matted, and soon you might even end up having dreadlocks. So matted is an adjective. Again, you can use it to describe hair, but honestly, it could be used to describe anything that gets matted, anything that gets twisted together in an untidy way. After rolling around in the mud, Lisa found that her hair was terribly matted and could not be brushed. So this is also a word that many people use to describe animals, right? You have a pet, you haven't taken them to the groomer or brushed their hair in a long time, so their fur can end up getting matted. Okay, next word is appalled. Appalled is an adjective that describes the feeling of being shocked and disappointed. So being appalled usually happens suddenly, like you find out your little sister's been blogging about your family and telling all their embarrassing stories. That would be something that you would find appalling. When you're appalled, you don't just disapprove of what you're seeing, you're emotionally disturbed by it. Like when you're appalled by the wasted food at a cafeteria or restaurant, or you're appalled by the rudeness of someone who lets the door slam in your face. So, once again, appalled is an adjective. It is to cause someone to feel fear, shock, or disgust. It appalls me to think about the terrible treatment that children face in abusive homes. All right, our next word is bemused. If you're bemused, you're muddled or preoccupied. It happens when you're lost in thought, you're feeling dazed, or you're overwhelmed, like maybe on the first day of high school. So think about Wile E. Coyote or any other cartoon character that just kind of staggers off with a vague, kind of confused smile when they've been hit over the head with a frying pan. And that is really what we're talking about when we describe somebody as being bemused or having a bemused expression on their face, right? They're dazed, they're confused, they don't know what's going on. So people often use the word bemused when they really mean to say amused. They're often mixed up with each other, but amuse is to entertain, and bemused is to be confused. So in Alice in Wonderland, the White Rabbit amuses Alice when he's frolicking around. She finds it funny. But then the Cheshire Cat bemuses her when he tells her to go two directions at once. So she ends up getting confused, right? Or bewildered. That's another synonym for bemused. So once again, bemused is an adjective. It means to puzzle, confuse, or bewilder someone. He thought of himself as an ordinary man, and he was bemused by all the attention that he was receiving. All right, our next word is jovial. We use jovial to describe people who show good humor and are full of joy. Santa Claus, with his constant ho ho hoing, is a jovial figure. Jovial, again, is an adjective. I always remember it because it begins with J-O. It kind of reminds me of joy. Because if you are jovial, you're full of happiness and joy, you're very cheerful. After getting their food and drinks for free, the audience was in a jovial mood. They were full of joviality. All right, our next word is insufferable. If something is insufferable, it's unbearable and impossible. like the insufferable humidity of the rainforest at the zoo, right? You go into the rainforest room, the Amazon area, and it is insufferably hot, especially on a hot summer day. You can see the word suffer in insufferable, and that is not a coincidence because something that is insufferable, you feel like you're suffering through it. It is torture. It's too much to handle. So an egotistic coworker is insufferable, and so is a blizzard that leaves 6-foot snow drifts against the doors of your house and buries your car, makes it impossible to walk on the street or to drive. You could also describe the insufferable working conditions in factories around the world, especially ones in other countries where even young children are forced to work there. So again, insufferable is an adjective. You use it to describe anything that is very bad or unpleasant, so unpleasant, so horrible that you really can't even deal with it or accept it. I can't take any more of her insufferable arrogance. It's too much to handle. Her arrogance is insufferable. She literally thinks she's the best person in the whole world. All right, and our final word is persecute. So to persecute is when you make someone suffer or you keep them in a bad circumstance. So in some parts of the world, governments or military groups will persecute or punish people for their religious beliefs, often sending them to prisons or to work camps. You can use the verb persecute to talk about abusive acts against a person or a group of people. So persecute, like I was persecuting my sister, or an abusive mother persecutes her children. Persecute is usually used to describe the harm that's done to a particular group, like when a person is persecuted for being part of a certain religion. Sometimes people who are born of a certain race or culture can be targets of persecution as well. Like Hitler, obviously, is the first one that comes to mind. He's notorious for his orders to persecute the Jewish people. When you persecute someone, again, you're treating someone cruelly or unfairly, especially because of race or religious or political beliefs. The country's leaders relentlessly persecuted those who fought against their regime, making their lives a living hell. All right, so now it is time to take our new vocabulary words and to write our example sentences. Remember, you have to write at least one sentence per word. You want to make sure that your sentences contain context clues, so think of the 5 W's, and you want to also make sure you're using the word properly. So if it's an adjective, you got to use it as an adjective. You have to use it to describe a noun. If it's a verb, you have to make it what the person in your sentence, the subject in your sentence, is doing. You will get extra credit if you write 2 separate sentences per word. Remember, each sentence has to use the vocabulary word. And you will also get Class Dojo points if you use other vocabulary words in your sentences. So any of our previous vocabulary words. Good luck, and make sure you bring this sheet with you to class tomorrow for our vocabulary lesson.